morning, everyone. Here is a Newsy News nugget: a fatal flight and a family wanting answers. Well, a family is speaking out after an Air Force veteran, 62, was allegedly, quote, left to die by American Airlines crew who allowed the entire plane to deboard prior to him getting help. Now, I remember, seeing. I haven't been on an airplane in years, but when I used to fly more frequently, I remember, hey, if you need assistance getting out of the plane or things like that, or you have small children, generally they would let you go first. Let's see why that didn't happen here. The family of an Air Force veteran who died of a heart attack after American Airlines crew allegedly delayed calling for help until an entire plane had deboarded have spoken out about the quote unquote mind boggling holdup that continues to haunt them. Absolutely, with any medical situation, minutes, seconds count, and any delay can lead to an unfortunate, tragic and or ending. So, what the hell happened here? In an exclusive interview with The Independent, relatives of John William Cannon said they are still trying to struggle to process this unthinkable tragedy. Quote, he was treated like an object, Cannon's son Kyle said. They never even gave him a chance, end quote. The 62-year-old was traveling on connecting flights from his home in Louisville, Kentucky, to Durango, a small city southwest of Colorado, for a funeral when he suffered a medical crisis on the last leg of the journey from Dallas-Fort Worth on April 28, 2023. Now, according to a wrongful death lawsuit brought against American Airlines by Kyle, who is also the executor of his father's estate, Cannon had passed out on the jetway while getting off of his first flight, but was still allowed to get onto the connection to Durango. Now, call me crazy, but if I pass out, I'm going to El Hospitalillo, or, maybe not trying. Well, no, I'm a stubborn ass. So I'd be like, I'm fine. It's just tis a flesh wound. I will get on the other plane because I hate hospitals. I just realized that I was lying, that I would be a stubborn ass and try to go on to the next flight. So he was allowed to, after passing out, get onto his connecting flight to Durango. Now, at points during the 2 hour and 20-minute trip, he was in visible distress, struggling to breathe, and falling in and out of consciousness. So this should have been something that, a stewardess, a flight attendant would have checked or seen and alerted the pilot so he could alert medical, help ahead at the stop. Now, the crew, however, waited until the plane had landed in Colorado and taxied to the gate. And so landed, taxied, and then all other passengers had gotten off before they called for help. That is the allegation in the lawsuit, which was first reported by The Independent. The father of one, his family described as a very loving person, an avid outdoorsman who loved tinkering with cars and motorcycles and had no history of heart problems, went into cardiac arrest in the back of an ambulance and unfortunately passed away a few hours later at the hospital. Kyle Cannon, 28, says he simply can't fathom the delay in summoning assistance, a decision he has described as mind-boggling. Yes. Uh, quote, I'll be out enough in the field thinking, and I just can't wrap my head around it, said Kyle, a Kentucky farmer. When you have someone on board who is in critical shape and you should do all you have in your power to get that person help that they need, he should have been the first person off the plane, but he was the last. And it's hard to believe that could actually happen, but it did. In the 2 years since Cannon's death, his family has been trying to piece together exactly what happened on that flight. They say that American Airlines has been less than forthcoming, and what they have learned has brought them little comfort. Quote, trying to piece it together and trying to make it make sense, and hoping they would try to save him. And then with each piece of information that we would uncover, it would just get worse and worse and worse and worse. Kyle said. Kyle's aunt, Cannon's sister Katie, has said this has been one of the most excruciating parts of bouncing back. We were hoping to find answers and to get some solace, and it's just been one misstep after another, she told The Independent. It just tears you up, reliving it again and again. The situation constituted, quote, just epic fails, end quote, from start to finish, said Cannon's other sister, Molly. She had seen him off at the Louisville airport on the morning of his death and recalled her brother's final wave as he went through security. Quote, I was the last person that saw him alive, and he turned around when he was going through security and waved. I didn't know that would be the last time I would see him, and I can't get that out of my mind. Her brother had a sense of humor like no other, Molly said. He loved people, he always worked with people, and he was a very caring person, she went on. He cared a lot, had a big heart. As a teenager, he was really into motorcycles, both dirt bikes and street bikes. He was incredibly coordinated. He could do wheelies down the whole street. I couldn't understand how he did all the things he could do. The three lost their mother at the age of 89, a year before Cannon's unfortunate death. But Molly said that losing a sibling is a different feeling. It's like it just blows you out of the water. It was Molly who initially became concerned about Cannon's whereabouts after he failed to connect with her when he got to Durango, where he was heading for a funeral of his best friend's partner. Now she began calling her brother's phone continuously to no avail. Around 10 p.m., she tried calling friends who were supposed to pick him up at the airport, but that friend too failed to pick up. Around midnight, a woman finally answered Cannon's phone. It was an ICU nurse at Mercy Medical Center who said that Cannon was in dire shape. Molly immediately contacted Kate, the other sister, and neither of them had any idea what to do. They began booking flights to get to Durango the next morning so they could be by their brother's side as he recuperated. Then, shortly after they had their tickets in hand, their phone rang. The hospital called us back and they said, if you want to say goodbye to your brother, we're going to hold the phone up to his ear, recalled, describing the moment as alternately very surreal and unimaginable. Now, she had tears in her eyes as she shared those final moments. Those last few minutes when he was passing and we were saying, I love you, John. I'm going to miss you, John, more than anything, or more even than I love you. I'm just going to miss you. Kate said she relives the situation over and over in her mind and hates thinking about her brother's suffering and finds, these holiday seasons without him especially tough. I just have to be grateful for the time we had with him, but I definitely feel robbed for the time we didn't. The weekend after Cannon's death, Molly spoke to a nurse at the hospital who told her that medics who brought in her brother seemed traumatized by the way the situation had been handled. They see a lot of really, really horrific stuff, and for them to say that, it really speaks to how bad this was, Kyle said, adding that first responders encouraged the family to take legal action. Kyle believes that his father should have been sent to the hospital rather than having been allowed to board his connecting flight after blacking out in Dallas. This, Kyle contended, probably could have saved his life. Yes and no. Let's be real. If this was, an unavoidable widowmaker heart incident, even if he had been in the hospital, sometimes even if you're in the hospital with the best surgeon and he is trying his best, it still doesn't work out. But I do think that it was negligent of the airline to again set someone forward on their journey when they had an obvious medical incident. Now, again, I'm not a doctorologist, I am a moologist, which means I do know that, I have dizzy spells, I have lightheaded spells, especially with, all the stuff that I deal with. But if I passed out, I don't think that Mr. Mo or the airline should let me go on my next flight. We would like American to show some accountability so this doesn't happen to someone else, he said. We can't bring him back, but if this could save someone else's life, that's what we would want. Now, the family lawsuit slams American for failing to provide Cannon with first aid while on board and failing to turn him over to a physician in a timely manner, Also, failing to prioritize Cannon in deboarding, in deboarding in the line, so he would be first, not last, once he exhibited signs of extreme distress while on board the aircraft. Now, cabin crews are trained in CPR, and all commercial airliners have been required since 2004 to carry defibrillators on board, according to family attorney Joseph LaRusso. Nobody is expecting that a flight attendant is going to be a doctor, but you have to at least attempt to, within your training and limitations, your skill set, render aid. So, just a terrible story for this family. And you can still see how, 2 years later, grief is still there. And that's the funny thing about grief is, some days your life is bigger than your grief. And then other days your life is, just barely hanging on as you cling to this giant ball of grief. And you never quite know what kind of day those days are going to be, any day is going to be. And it can be a smell or a sound or a song or heck, anything that'll bring that back. So I do hope that American Airlines will change their policies and will pay up. I, don't like that we're such a litigious society all the time, but this is obviously a absolute failure of both procedure and common sense. So I hope this family gets their, justice. American Airlines changes this so no one else gets hurt. And, rest in peace, John William Cannon. A good man, seems like a good brother, a good father, So rest in peace. And it seems like you left just a legacy of love behind. Well, you guys, this has been Newsy Nuggets Fatal Flight. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for spending your time with me. As always, do the YouTubey things and remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire because kindness no longer equals doormat. I will see you guys all today during Karen Read, and then we have let's see, Lord Chippy Bites and Newsy Nuggets coming out all through the day to get your Newsy Nugget fix and your Lord Chippy fix, because really, the world is full of a-holes, and Lord Chippy awaits. Bye, you guys.